So you just had an argument with your wife. Now what do? How do you come back after this and make things right with your wife? My name is Frank DeGrassi. I'm a couples counselor and I enjoy and have a passion helping couples reconcile, repair after conflicts. If you've been enjoying these videos, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It just simply allows me to help other couples and see these videos so I can help support couples in a way that I couldn't do one-on-one, but be able to expand this message of hope and helping people, helping couples, helping marriages, and helping families. All right, so let's get on with it. So what do you do after an argument? I want to share with you 5 things that you must do when you have an argument, because it's not an if, it's not a maybe. We know every couple has conflict, has argument. But what do you do after them? I want to share with you 5 simple things you must do after an argument, after an escalation, after things were said and done that probably you should have not said as a husband or as a boyfriend. What are the things you should do? The first thing you should do, obviously, here, number 1, write this down, is this: you need to apologize. It's as simple as that. We all know that, but it has to be said. It's like saying, babe, please forgive me. I am sorry. Apologizing. And the thing about apologizing is we need to be exact of what we're apologizing for. It's not where you just say, sorry, and then leave it as that, right? You need to be exact in the things that you're apologizing for. I'm sorry for the tone. I'm sorry for what I said, right? I'm sorry for how I said it. It's just taking that time to apologize. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for, okay, being exact. I say it like this: apologizing is like opening the door of opportunity into where understanding, into where repairing and reconciliation can happen. It's a potential for those things to happen. Apologizing just opens that door of opportunity. So after you apologize, the second thing we need to do is to take responsibility. We have to take responsibility for the things that was on our part. Now, I'm sure there's arguments where maybe 98% of the argument you were correct. Maybe 98% of the conversation you were correct, you were factual, you were right. But that 2%, there's some things in that 2% that you probably didn't say right, or the words that you said, or the tone, or the attitude, all the things. How you came at her probably is something you need to apologize for. But see, apologizing and taking responsibility, it disarms, it de-escalates the conflict. Because the thing is this: you can either take responsibility or you can get defensive. Dr. John Gottman, who created the Gottman couples marriage relationship therapy and couples counseling, did a study and research and found that couples will either take responsibility or they get defensive and get stuck there. And it's important for us that when defensiveness happens, we need to transition defensiveness, like protecting and excusing and making defense for your part. Instead of staying there, we need to transition to taking responsibility. Dr. Gottman says that taking responsibility reduces tension and prevents conflict from escalating. Isn't that powerful? That you can actually prevent escalation the second time around after a conflict by taking responsibility. So it's like, can you imagine if you said to your wife something to the effect of, I'm sorry for the tone and how I kept cutting you off while you were trying to share your part. Please forgive me. Can you imagine if you told your wife that when you came back around after that argument and conflict and you said, babe, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And I know I was cutting you off while you're trying to talk and say your part, right? Can you imagine your wife might just like fall off her seat if you take responsibility for your part, right? And can you imagine how the conflict the second time around will go better? Can you imagine how that conversation will be like now? It'll go back and forth, hopefully, because why? You took responsibility for your part and you're learning to not, like in that example, you're learning to do it better. And so in that example, it's like if you were cutting her off, you know that's not something you should do the second time around. So we all know, we innately know the things we've done wrong in the midst of the conflict. Words that we said, the tone of how we were communicating, the attitude, the volume, the look on her face, all those things communicate. And so when we come around again to reconcile and repair and we apologize and take responsibility, it's important for us to not do that stuff again, or else we fall prey to escalating the argument. So apologize, take responsibility. The third one is be curious. Be curious. This really speaks into the importance of understanding. Understanding. So ask questions for understanding. Here's a question you can ask for this curious questioning for understanding. You can ask questions like, "What? Can you tell me what triggered a reaction that caused you to get escalated or get all triggered?" That's the word nowadays, right? Can you tell me what triggered all this for you? What got you all upset? What did you hear me say? What did you see me do? What got you all upset? And what that does, it invites for you to understand where she's coming from. It allows you to help you understand the breadth of why she was so upset and why she got triggered and why volume went up and why she used those pointed words. Is really being curious to why is this so important to her, for her. Maybe there was things in her past that was triggered that remind her of past pains and past hurt, and all that passion and energy was brought to this conversation, this conflict. And so when you brought something up, it was like kind of like that straw that broke the camel's back. It just opened the dam of emotions and it all came out, right? Not saying that was right, but maybe that's part of it, right? Maybe that's part of why she got all upset. And maybe this engagement, this conflict between you and her caused all that to happen. Or maybe it was all the past hurt that you've caused that was the fuel to the fire in her anger and her resentment or frustration, whatever it may be, that she came at you with such energy. But the thing is, you need to be curious and ask curious questions. Or another question you could ask is, can you help me understand what you saw, what you heard, what you felt when we were going at it? This line of questioning is not to attack, is not for you to pick at and take a defense on or use that as ammunition to win the argument. As I always say, if you can win the argument but you lose the relationship, right? So this is not the curious questions is not so you can win the argument and choose and identify like a lawyer, right? A prosecutor versus defense. This is not what's happening here. You guys are on the same team. So it's important for asking curious questions so you can understand where she's coming from, the idea, the mentality, the heart, the past history, all the things that is contributing to this energy of conflict between you and her that's causing a wedge between you, right? Again, that is the spirit of asking curious questions. And then the fourth thing is simple, is be kind. Be kind. This is really talking to an attitude of kindness. It's like how you would talk to anybody. However, this is your wife, this is your loved one, this is your significant other. And when we forget who she is to us, when we forget that God brought her into our life and we start treating her like, we take that for granted, we start in almost in essence disrespecting her. And we start treating her in a way that's not kind, that's not respectful, not honorable. And so this is very important where we need to be kind, just like how you talk to anybody. You would respect anyone, no matter their background, their religion, their ethnicity, whatever. You would talk to them with respect, and much more so, your wife commands and demands that kind of respect. Not that she asks for it, but as husband, as men, we need to respect our spouse. And so when we talk, when you engage, when you have this curious questions, when you take responsibility, all these things and be curious, requires us to practice the simple foundational value that we have for each human being on earth, which is simply to be kind. To be kind. And the last one is to construct a plan. This is what must happen. A lot of us, we rush right to constructing a plan. We want to fix, but we don't do the other necessary things along the way because we go straight to fixing. How can I fix this? How can I make this better? How can I make this right? That's important, but that is the final step. That's the final step. And so it's the old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You can have all the right answers, right solutions, right strategies to bring resolution to the conflict. But if you don't do the steps of taking responsibility, apologizing, curious questions for understanding, and especially being kind as the foundation of it all, there's no sense of coming in with a constructive plan. And so it's important to do all these things. Now, once all this framework has been in place, constructing a plan is important. So constructing a plan asks things like, what's one thing, right? As you know, as a speaker, as the man, what's one thing I can do to make this better the next time? What's one thing I can do to make this better the next time? So in other words, you're asking your wife, babe, what's the one thing I can do to make this better the next time around? When we have a conflict, right? When we have a conflict, how can I make this better the next time? And allow her to tell you. She may throw 5 things at you, and that might be a lot. And I always tell couples, what's the one thing? What's one thing you can do better the next time, right? If we can do our conflicts 1% better each time, we'll get a lot better along the way. Relationships is not one and done. Relationships is having to do this better, stronger, wiser each time we have a conflict. The last one, or another question, not just what's one thing you can do to make it better the next time, but the other question is what's one thing your partner can do to make this discussion better the next time. So it's having you identifying to your wife what's one thing she can do, right? And you might want to show her this video so that both of you are on are you guys on the same page, right, so to speak, where that she recognizes that there's one thing that she needs to communicate to you as to what's one thing you can do better to do, what's one thing you can do to make conflict better, and then also turning the tables and and you communicating to her what's one thing. And again, don't throw 5 things, 3 things, or maybe 2 things. Just do one thing. That's all I want to encourage you with. Do what's one thing your wife can do better to make this discussion improved, better, more able to have this conversation, this dialogue the next time. I hope this helps, and I hope that each time you do conflict, it gets you grow closer and more intimate with each other in your relationship. I want to share more. Check out this video, and I'll see you there, and we'll be able to grow our relationships one brick at a time. Take care. See you there.